to stick it to the other team to potentially get something, but we're getting on into draft. We won't have to wait any longer. Garen going to be taken off the board. And so GA will not be getting their hands on that champion. Obviously, TTQ, they don't want to be giving over any free stuff to GA's top laner. Smolder going to be taken off as well. That makes sense. TTQ. Root has proved time and time again that she is very, very good on that champion. And also, I think Smolder is just a really good blind pick. We've talked about it so much throughout this season of the TLS across all three of our divisions, just how good of a pick Smolder is, especially if you can pick him blind. You can pair with him a pretty good support. He has a wide cast of supports that he likes to play, or play with, rather. And so it does make sense to see GA want to take that away from TTQ to make sure that they do not have any freebies, any gimme basket items as far as gearing towards a free win on the top, the bot side. Jay, let's see what they want to hit here. Do they want to pinch the AD pull a little bit further? They do want to pinch the counterparts. They'll take away the Pike. The TTQ going to be right out of the gate, locking in the Victor, so want to get themselves some scaling and some safety towards the mid lane. Makes a lot of sense. I love Victor. I love this champion. I love just about every team composition that he can be played in. He offers a lot, not only in the laning phase, but then also in the team fighting. He's a great zone control champion, and so this is, I think, the staple of just about every league across the world. I think tier 3, tier 2, professional tier. This champion just is incredibly versatile and is just, is a stable mid laner. And it's hard. It's very difficult to go wrong. It's also very easy to play. So ease of execution in other team compositions is very nice. It's very, very low threshold to make that champion work. The GA, they lock in the Ashe. Question is, do they lock in the Seraphine here, or do they favor themselves maybe a little bit more training power? Do they want to lock in a hard carry support like a Nautilus or a Leona, or do they fancy themselves a Nami for an even more aggressive lane? And they will instead elect to, at least for now, split the AD and support pick, and they're going to lock in their mid laner, Orianna. Great response to the Victor. A really, really good laning trade power. Is also great in teamfight as well. So interested to see what GA want to pair with that Orianna. There's a number of really good tools that they could put with it. Nocturne's still on the board. Wukong is also another champion that traditionally goes really well with Orianna. Anything with sufficient dive, I think is a good pairing with it. And so TTQ going to lock in the Jarvan to kind of help protect themselves a little bit from that Orianna. I think it's less a counter pick into what GA potentially might draft within their composition, more just a pick away. They want to get rid of any easy delivery systems for that Ori ball, and Jarvan is one of them, especially having access to the Cataclysm. You can lock multiple people in, and then it's really easy to land the Orianna Shockwave. And so TTQ, they just want to eliminate any of those easy combos. That doesn't mean that there won't be other things that GA can't grab. Like I said, Wukong Nocturne's still available. So will GA grab one of those, at least in the jungle? They will not, as they are, at least for now, hovering the Shyvana. And they do, in fact, lock that in. Starting to see a little bit more of this champion after some of the adjustments. She was hit hard 4 or 5 patches ago after her rework release came out. Her trading power was kind of obnoxious, and so Riot tuned it down a little bit, but they've since adjusted a little bit of her kit back, I think, in some of her ratios. So her damage is pretty good. Her clear is back where I think everyone kind of wanted it to be. So good, at least jungle clearing, but I think a little less aggressive skirmishing power. But GA, they want to go ahead and lean towards that very aggressive jungle trading champion. Also, it's great into Jarvan as well, so you have you have the ability to kind of 1v1 him in some of those river skirmishes, which I think is what just something that GA wants to get themselves a little bit of, because they don't want to necessarily cede all of that power to TTQ in the early game. So Shyvana, I think, a good bridge gapper for that. And so for both teams, they need a top laner and they need a support. In GA, they want to hit the supports a little bit harder. They decide to go ahead and take away the Rel. It's some easy follow-up for the Jhin. And then Mel also being the ban board. Not sure that the Mel is worth it in the support role to ban, given everything that's available still for TTQ to pick. But I do respect that they've probably seen something in TTQ scrims that they just don't want to play against. And TTQ, for their bit, they're making sure that they're not giving over any easy combos. The Seraphine will hit the ban board. Will they ban the Leona or the Nautilus, though? Those are typically two other champions that have fairly easy follow-up with the Ashe, but they do instead elect to pinch the top lane pool a little bit more. There's the Garen, the Jace, and the Scion will all pick away there from GA's top laner. The good news is for GA, they have a number of good top lane champions they could pick, and as I wasn't given the chance to talk about, even though I may have not guessed it, and Besta is one of those champions, and so now they can They can look to save their support pick for last. I'm not really sure that that was worth it. I would have rather them locked in the support pick and then have counter pick for a top lane. So TTQ will, I think, make the most out of that draft opportunity. TTQ going to lock the Thresh in alongside the Jhin. I have learned my lesson through so many of the games that we've casted for the side of TLS and all these different leagues. Every time I think that the Thresh isn't going to perform well, it does. And so instead, I will now give all Thresh players in this league the benefit of the doubt that they can actually pilot that champion very well. And then just decide, like, I think especially for Jhin too, Thresh offers quite a bit in terms of safety and making sure that Jin's going to be safe in the lane. And so TTQ, they are going to lock in that Malphite that they were teasing us with a little bit earlier and decide to lock that top laner in against the Mbessa. I don't really know too much about that 1v1 between Mbessa and Malphite. On one hand, I could see Mbessa winning it just because of her ability to sustain in that lane and her aggressive training pattern and the fact that she doesn't really have too much resource management. But Malphite, another champion I think has pretty good trading patterns, especially once he reaches the full kit. As GA, ooh, this would be something spicy, no pun intended, with this Brandon. They will lock in the flame-haired man on the bot side. But we'll have to see what they want to do. I need to make sure that everyone is set on the right side. And they are, in fact, on the right side. TTQ going to be starting on the blue side. GA on the red side. Game number 1 between these two teams. And don't let the records fool you. These teams, they are very scrappy and, if nothing else, very entertaining to watch. And I think a lot of people have been looking forward to this series on the calendar for a while, especially now that we've got the standings a little bit more settled and seeing where these teams will end up. Unfortunately, both these teams are locked out of playoffs, but that does not mean that they are locked out of giving us a good time on the stream. Let's see how bad each of these teams won. We posted on a social media page earlier our match day graphic between both of these teams, and I've borrowed very heavily 2 images from the Battle of the Bastards scene from the Game of Thrones because I thought, well, what a fitting little image, what a fitting little, I guess, kind of homage to what I kind of fully expect at least this series to be. But the question everyone was wondering was, who was Jon Snow in this analogy? And the server ended up voting that GA was Jon Snow. In this analogy. So I guess that means that TTQ, they are Ramsay Bolton, one of the most hated characters of all of Game of Thrones, but TTQ not one of the most hated teams in all of TLS by any stretch of the imagination. Actually, a little bit of a fan favorite. But I'd like to see GA get a win. I'd like to see them make things a little bit scrappy as we get closer towards the end of this regular season here in the Hardwire division. And I think a lot to be excited as we get closer to playoffs. A lot of these teams starting to prepare. We've kind of got our top 3 locked out, so really it's about that bottom 4 battle. And, Psychosis dropping a game to TTQ last week puts them in a bit of a precarious spot in terms of their fight to make the playoffs, especially with TBR. Sort of a late season resurgence. They have a lot of games that they need to play, but they do seem to be setting up a good pace to be that 4th place team. So we'll have to see what they want to do. Meanwhile, on the bot side, though, Route 16, she's deciding she wants to get a little bit active here. As a forced shot and auto would knock Glacier down. They've got the health advantage right now. And Rob's getting the worst end of this trade. Flash forward for his blood. For Route 16 and that bot side, she's wasting absolutely no time getting this party started. Soxquin, ooh, with the flash and the grab underneath the turret, the flay to pull him a little bit closer, and it's a double kill. And Soxquin, yes, he gets executed by the turret, but that's basically a freebie. You give your life for that any day. And TTQ getting it started off right. Gonna be very happy with that turn of events, and a great investment, as even Cordy going to be forced to flash out in that mid lane. And so GA not off to the greatest of starts right now. They're not having a good time across their mid and bot lane. And I did not have the replay functionality going. I'm going to turn that on, so we won't get a replay of that, but we will potentially get some hijinks here as Dread Joker trying to knock down the Scuttle. Doesn't have the smite, and so it will be stolen away by Fully Noided. Sox is going to pull his jungler to safety, and they do a little bit of BM onto the GA jungler and prevent him from getting that oh-so-juicy Scuttle. And now Fully Noided, the byproduct of that is because of the way that he was pathing and because of the way that Dread Joker was pathing, as I'm not sure that Glacier needed to flash there, but did want to pay respects to Sox Clinton, as there was a message that immediately popped up there. I could hear the little background sound, so somebody was typing something to someone. But the byproduct of that little play in that river is that Fully Anointed will be collecting both of the scuttles, so he's going to be having a good old time. Getting a little bit extra gold and getting that XP, so getting a little bit closer to level 6 a little bit faster. And it'll help him with his objective timing too, especially if Route 16 and Sox Clinton can continue to hold that bot lane advantage, presuming they do not draw the ire of the Shyvana, because that would be unfortunate. And speaking of unfortunate, what's unfortunate is this series of play for Glacier, who really has nowhere to go. The Ashe is going to start to have a really bad time, and Sox, way ahead of the play, uses the lantern to get Route 16 just a little bit closer. And my God, we may have antagonized Root a little bit too much in the server earlier. Everyone was giving them a little bit of a hard time, you know, starting to root for Glacier in front of them. And I think we may have pissed her off, and that's okay. You like to see a player turn that anger into motivation. We're like, you know, Emperor Palpatine, like, yes, use the Force, use your anger. And so she's going to be using her anger and taking it out on GA. How dare we compare TTQ, the undefeated, 1 week undefeated TTQ. But right now, TTQ filing on all cylinders.
Rendering flight path.
I'm interested to see if they want to start an early dragon here, given the rotation timing for Fully Anointed. He's going to clear out those Raptors, and then the question will be whether or not he clicks over to level 6. If he does, I fully expect him to go over to Dragon. If he doesn't tick over to level 6 off Raptors, he'll probably grab Krugs, and then they'll push out Bot Wave, and then perhaps go to Dragon. And that would be the time to do it, especially on the recall timers from Glacier and Robs. It'd be a good time to go and grab that objective. They probably want to wait until Taylor Swifties fully gets to the lane. They don't necessarily need to, especially with Glacier running out onto the map right now as fast as they can. A little bit of a wraparound. This is very, very risky. They're going to try and catch Glacier in rotation. It's going to get flagged, dragged. Glacier trying to get away, but just gets immediately pulled back. Fully Anointed only needs 1 or 2 more autos to finish this off. And Route 16, I saw you trying to steal that. You weren't slick. You were trying to take that from the jungler. Yeah, but wasn't able to do it. Oh, no, Dread Joker, TTQ should understand where Dread Joker's positioning is here. But they won't need to scout it out too much farther because the Shyvana is just going to go ahead and walk on out of there. And I think that's the right call. There's really nothing you can do. You're getting pushed in mid. Your ADC's down, only just now running back out. You're down in items and in levels. Right now's not the time to try and make risky plays. You're just going to have to, unfortunately, eat that pressure and just take the loss of the neutral objective. And look for a play later on in the game. Don't bet the farmhouse right now. It's not, if you're going to make risky plays, you want to try and make them as good and odd to succeed as possible. But right now, absolute domination in this bot side TTQ. I mean, it's very impressive. 3-0 on Root already. Already 6 minutes into the game. Already level 6. And already a significant CS advantage over Glacier. And this is kind of a hellish spot for GA to be right now, too, because it's just Ashe and Brand, which they're fairly short range, all things considered. So they don't really have a good way to get up to this wave, especially with the level and the item advantage that Root and Sox have. And so they're kind of just forced to accept whatever it is TTQ are willing to give them, as Rob is going to be flashing out again. Death Sentence land, ultimate going to be coming out from the Gen Glacier. Nowhere to go, has to commit to step close to the Thresh. We can't look to land a Flay and potentially another Death Sentence. Route 16, though, be careful of the turret, my friend. That damage does ramp quick. She walks on out of there. And this TTQ bot lane cannot sing their praises enough. They are on fire right now. Does Sox fancy himself an attempt underneath this turret? He is going to eat one turn shot, and so we'll just call that off. But is, though, I think, going to look for the angle. If he lands a Death Sentence, I think that'll just be the go button for Root. Now, Ricky is going to see Dread Joker come up here. Fully Anointed is here to provide a little bit of support, so this is a 2-on-2, so it's fairly safe. And so that means the Paul and Dread Joker, they won't be trying to do too much with this one. Fully Anointed has the ability to throw the Cataclysm out, does indeed do it. And it's 1 for nothing so far. It's Ricky trying to flash out and get away, but he will always go down here. The final auto secures it. And so that just leaves the 2 junglers to fight it out. And Fully Anointed decides they got what they came for, doesn't need to get anything else, and walks out of there. And I think in the extended trade, especially with Shyvana in that Rage form, you definitely don't want to be trading for too long, as the Jarvan doesn't quite have the tools to do it just yet. And Paul, going to go ahead and expend the teleport to get on out there to the map so that he doesn't drop too much CS. And then also so that they can try and make a play towards these grubs. Even as I say that, though, Taylor Swifties teleporting to the river. This is going to get spotted out. Qwerty will at least see him go down. This is going to be the Arcane Storm thrown down on top of the Orianna. But it's a little bit of a scattered fight right now for both teams. There's not much they can do. And Roots Ricky doesn't yet want to go in, doesn't have access to the Unstoppable, so TTQ will just pull off this play. They don't want to give anything over, and they will just allow the grubs to go into the pocket of GA. And so nice little response there from the team wearing blue. Well, I say blue. And so TTQ will at least steal one away, so a little bit of a late rotation. Not the worst, but that does mean that GA will be getting the buff, though. They got 2 of them, and so they'll be happy to get that and walk out. But TTQ already building a significant lead at 2.2 in the top, or not, sorry, in the top side across the map. The biggest difference there, though, just being in that bot side. A little bit more than 20 CS advantage for Dust Joker, or sorry, not Dust Joker, Dread Joker in the jungle. But that's mostly just been because that's mostly from the Dragon play when got caught for rotation. Is my God, Sox Clinton landing at another dissonance, pulls the play back. Uses the flay to pull him back, throws down the baby cage. Route 16 and Sox just deleting these health bars so quickly. And now they're not safe on the turret. Now Shanna Crystal Arrow will buy just a little bit of time. Death sentence goes wide onto Robs, but the deadly flourish secures that one. Can they get away from QWERTY, who does have access to the shockwave? Route 16 will take the hero, will take the lantern to get to safety. And QWERTY now might be caught up a little bit. Deadly Flourish going to land again. Nice flash from Root to dodge the Cataclysm. QWERTY now out of some abilities. Or no, sorry, that wasn't the shockwave use. I thought the shockwave had been channeled there, but it was in fact just the E on the ball. And now for the Noida going to get involved. Flash forward, forces out the flash from Glacier, and they will just be able to collect the Orianna, who's on the wrong side of the play. No flash, no summoners available to get away from that one. So TTQ doing a really good job of being active across the map here, and massive shout out to Fully Noided, who has been top, mid, and bot within the last 2 to 3 minutes, and so is very, very mobile across the rift, which is exactly what you want from TTQ with a champion with that kind of movement ability, just to be constantly putting pressure on everybody and making sure no one feels safe. The nice part of that, too, is they got the flash off of Glacier, so any bot lane play that they want to make before this dragon spawns in about 20 seconds will be good for them. Sox has back if your Dread Joker, I think, doesn't necessarily want to be here. Sox going to throw out the Lantern. The ultimate's going to come out from Dread Joker, but the full knockup wasn't given over. Fully Noided smites the red buff just to get a little bit extra damage. Robs wants to try and put something over the wall. Will land the Q, so starts to make this a little bit complicated. The Knight's going to go down. A 1-4-1 in the end, though. Root is there to clean up the jungler for the side of GA, and now TTQ, they want to find something a little bit more. Deadly Flourish again, landing on top of Robs, who's having a really difficult time dodging into his abilities, but it is going to be a 1-for-1 trade there again as a Channel Crystal Arrow locks Taylor Swifties down. Sox Quinton lands yet another death sentence. Glacier going to pick that one up. Good guy support makes sure that makes sure that Root gets it. An 8-0-1 on this gen. This is a really, really scary ADC right now. Fully completed Hubris, and it's already stacking. And the entirety of TTQ's gold lead is just on Root, which is obnoxious, absurd, and more than a little concerning. Because if there's any champion you don't want getting accelerated like this, it is just Root. And I think now for GA, their entire goal is to just stop this gen. The good news is that there's not a lot of gold across the map on any of the other big carries, so no money on Taylor Swifties. Fully Noided does have 2 kills, but the Jarvan's not necessarily going to be the be-all, end-all for damage. And so, I mean, looking at the silver lining of things, at least for GA, you have a very, very simple goal in life, which is just kill this gen, and then maybe your life gets a lot easier. But that is easier said than done. He has the Swifties boots completed, and the build that Root will just empower not only the crit chance, the crit damage, but that every time you do crit, you get to run a little bit faster. And so that makes trying to lock down the gen just that much more difficult. And also, not to mention that even if you're able to get close to him to try and slow the gen down, he's doing a lot of damage. And Fully Noided going to be very, very happy, at least with the current state of the game. For GA, I'd like to see them try and stabilize what's going to be left of these laning phases. The good news is they haven't lost a tremendous amount of turret gold. They haven't lost too many plates. I'm not sure what Paul's doing. Being a little bit obnoxious here. This is the wraparound, so the dive at least enabled here for GA. What do they want to do? Is this Ricky going to buy just a little bit of time? Flashes forward, Paul, eating a bunch of turret shots. He will, in the end, slay the Malphite. But it was a close thing there. Was on the last sliver of health as a Channel Crystal Arrow thrown out yet again to stop Root from getting those kills. But that is just a desperation play right now as GA trying to trade for something more on this top side. Fully Anointed just wants to hold the wave here in time for Ricky to spawn. He's going to throw the Cataclysm down right on top of two people and get killed for it. Not sure that that was the play. If you wanted to do that, you probably needed to be a little bit closer to the turret, my friend. That's generally where you try and lock down two people and let them try and damage you and let the tower help you out there. But in a 1v2 away from the turret, Paul and Dread Joker show that they have more than enough to handle the Jarvan. And every time Sox Quentin throws out that death sentence, I'm just waiting for it to make that snappy little clasp sound onto Glacier, and then for Glacier's health bar to just immediately get deleted. Is the camera panned away there? The camera keeps making me think it'll land a little bit when it doesn't. Root did get the manage. Oh, I was going to say it was probably going to try and get that kill underneath the turret, but does actually do it. As Cordy will also get collected in the mid lane. The Jarvan lives underneath the turret, by the way, had the movement speed to not take any extra turret shots other than the one that she would have otherwise taken, trying to get close to Glacier. And so right now, GA, you've got big problems in the bot lane. It is starting to get out of hand. And a massive level disadvantage already. Glacier is level 8 to Root's level 10. And Sox has a 1-level advantage lead over Rob's, but the biggest difference there is obviously just the itemization that's been completed. I love Iron Locket. I think it's a... Sorry, I'm having to deal with production things on the backside. G8. They need to find a pathway forward to try and even up this lane state right now. And I think the biggest issue for them is that they just don't have an answer for Root once they start to get these team fights going. As Glacier just getting so much of their health bar just deleted, and even going to force the flash out to get to safety. This is going to be a little bit skirmish for this Rift Herald though, and I think for GA, I want to see them try and rotate all 4 people over to keep them at least in contention for this objective. Root is going to flash forward to get out from underneath the turret, but will be collecting this structure as well as the kill. And so this is starting to go bad, or from bad to worse. And for GA, who's, I think, now going to be very much lamenting the fact that they left Glacier in that 1v1. And they're no closer to taking this Herald yet. I think they're nervous to do it, especially with the recalls coming out. Now, Robs is going to have the ability to kill Root here, potentially. Doesn't have access to the ultimate, does have access to the ultimate, so throws it out, but it's a 1-for-1 in the end. And honestly, the fact that Root won that with so low health bar is a testament to how well she's playing right now. And also just how disgustingly far ahead this gen is. It's almost criminal. Speaking of criminal, what's criminal is how many times Sox keeps landing these death sentences and these flays. My God, are Thresh players in this league just goated or what? I have yet to see a bad Thresh player in the entirety of this league. I guess like just locking in Thresh is a buff for whoever wants to play that champion. I'm very impressed with the TTQ bot laners right now. And for Jay, I want to see them start to group a little bit more to try and take away this advantage. I want to see them try and focus Root if possible. You know, get these skirmishes going. Get out of these individual laning phases where things can go badly. As Zox couldn't manage to avoid the Channel Crystal Arrow, Taylor Swifty is forced to flash away, fully anointed. Trying to deal with 2 people on the backside. Will, I think, be able to at least collect 1, but it is going to take a little bit longer for him to do it. Dread Joker doing a really good job to put damage down on the return side, but wasn't able to get more than just the 1 that he got. And so Sox will be dropping there. Oh, that old fizzling out for Paul. Oh, you hate to see it. Yeah, that's going to sting a little bit. That might have been an opportunity there if they could find the follow-up, but weren't able to do so. So now they're going to have to walk away. They're down a significant ultimate. It's Ricky commits the unstoppable onto the brand, knocks that little flame dude back to the fountain. Now TTQ, they can look to group and take their 3rd dragon and put themselves to drag point. Paul and Cordy, not a whole lot they can do except to buy for time. But remember, Root is here, does a tremendous amount of damage, and she's got friends, and she's got the curtain call that she's going to throw out there to try and put the damage into the back of these 2 members for TTQ. We're trying to walk on out of here. Paul's trying to stay scrappy, though. They really don't want to let this go if they can avoid it. But this is a tough spot to be in. Sox Quentin has respawned to come right back out, lands a death sentence onto the Ambessa. The Drake gets claimed. The kill goes down. TTQ well and truly in control of this game. And thank goodness for GA that there's no Baron for TTQ to take. But they will go ahead and walk themselves out on to the mid lane. They can even go grab Herald if they'd like to. They only need a couple people to do it. But they will stay first to knock down this mid lane turret, and then they can rotate to that objective at their leisure. And that turret gunning, mostly going over to Route 16, which is exactly where they want it. 14-1-2, and we are only 18 minutes into the game. She is damn close to having a kill a minute. It might even be getting a little bit more as the Deadly Flourish going to land to lock that down. They're not going to be able to donate it over to the Jhin. But she will at least get a little bit of a kill participation. As we've now reached the 19-minute mark, and TTQ looking like they're... I was going to say reset, but they're not doing that. Root's just going to grab another kill because, you know, why not? And I think GA a little bit out of sorts right now with what to do in this game. They can't move across their map without getting killed. There's not even aggressive vision. It's just TTQ being really good with the predictions. And Sock's just going, the wind's blowing that way. It's a Thursday. I had a chocolate bar. You're standing right here. Just some voodoo magic with those death sentences. And I'll be honest, right now, if I had to, you know, put a ballot out for MVP of at least game one, I'm not really sure I'd give it to, because it's cool to see Root collecting kills, don't get me wrong, and like that is MVP caliber performance, but also Sox putting their name in the ballot as well, to be potential player of at least this game, perhaps player of the series, depending on how this goes. But I love seeing TTQ play with a vengeance like this, and I would like to see GA respond back a little bit more. You know, just show us a little bit something, you know. Start to try and group around an objective. Be aggressive with trying to get some vision. You already know who you need to focus. All of that gold is on Root. It's a massive shutdown waiting for anybody that can collect it. It's 467 gold. That's, you know, a quarter or maybe even half of an item. And if you could just slow the game down a little bit, hold on to your outer turrets, and give your carry some time to farm. You know, give Paul more time to, you know, get to that, you know, third, fourth item. You know, give Cordy time to finish out the rest of the build. There's only a Blackfire Torch in the Orianna's inventory right now, and that is not a lot of power for the Ori. But, you know, 3-4 items in, that Ori will be a much, much different champion. But I think for GA, that requires the one thing that they probably just don't have a lot of right now, which is patience. And that's a difficult place to be in, because not only are you actively losing across the map in terms of trying to contest for things and, you know, also just getting caught out in your own areas of the map, but then also it's, you know, that you're perpetually falling farther and farther behind, knowing that you have two scaling champions for the side of TTQ that are continuing to get stronger. But you got to find ways to make plays and get an advantage somewhere, and they might be able to do this on this bot side. Taylor Swifties going to get knocked out of the turret range just a little bit, doing a good job surviving for now. In the end, does go down, but it takes a little bit longer than perhaps TTQ would have liked, but nobody drops. But this will be the trade for the Baron on the top side. Recall's going to come out. Do GA suspect that this is happening right now? Neither Ambassador nor the Brain getting too close, but if they walk just a little bit farther, they will discover this objective going down. Paul doesn't need to do too much. They only need to delay for the mid laner and the ADC to get down, but that's not going to happen. Glacier walking over, throws down the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, but nothing much more to find there, as the resources were invested on that bot side to secure some kills, which means they don't have it for these neutral objectives. Flash forward from Sox, who's doing a really good job of CCing up Cordy. And that's going to be the curtain call coming out for Jhin, but not able to get away from the Siobhan on the backside. That Jhin was left all on its lonesome. And now Cordy just trying to get out of dodge, seeing if he can manage to walk away. Potato Swifties will be here. They're going to donate this kill over to the Victor, so I like that. But a huge shutdown on the backside for Dread Joker to collect Root. So good shot calling there, and honestly, good job by GA to delay that play towards the Baron. Yes, it cost them a couple members, but it's better than that big purple worm going down so early, because I think with TTQ getting Baron and then stacking his 3 or 4 in any lane, it would have been really difficult for GA to deal with that. So good response. Good response for them to at least find a mechanism to stop the playmaking, and also just good timing to run out towards the Baron, likely knowing that that objective was going to go down. And it looked sketchy there for a minute, because it almost looked like both Paul and Robs weren't going to walk over to that Baron to try and check it, but they do end up face checking into it. Yes, Robs does get hooked over the wall, or sorry, not Paul gets hooked over the wall. But not the worst thing to stop that objective from going down, and they put themselves in a position to contend for this 4th dragon, which they really need to get. Mountain Soul would be huge for TTQ to block out quite a bit of this targeted damage, and I know that Root would very much like to have just a little bit of extra shielding and just some survivability on the Jhin. But TTQ, they found their method, or sorry, found their moment to go in. Cordy gonna get collected on the backside. It takes a little bit longer. Fully anointed, flashing out of the Cataclysm, but it was still in range, and it's Ricky gonna capitalize on that one. A 3-man unstoppable gonna help with that. And Dread Joker trying to collect something on the backside just to get something for their troubles. And 2 go down so far. Both the support and the ADC are gone for TTQ. It's a lot of their damage gone. And now Taylor Swifties and it's Ricky forced to walk out. Dread Joker doing a good job to stop that play. So the Dragon won't go down. GA not out of this yet. Almost 5,000 cold down. But in a position to keep fighting for it. I don't agree with Dread Joker trying to take this Dragon right now. Even though the respawn timers are going to be short for his team. The rest of TTQ is going to be running out. Teleport going to be channeled immediately. It's Ricky. Knows this is going down. Other teleports as well. It's the Victor teleporting right behind the jungler for GA. Not even be able to smite it right now. It gets stolen away. Dragsoul goes to TTQ. And Dread Joker's greed is well and truly punished. And he's going to go down, which means that TTQ can even potentially look for a Baron if they would like to go grab one. They're going to have that Mountain Soul keeping them nice and fresh. Keep it at 55th Street, as we like to say around here. Now they can just aggressively scout out this vision that GA is trying to put out. They can cut off every entry into this Baron pit. And GA, if they want to hold on to any sliver of chance of winning in this game, they need to be very careful how they want to approach this Baron. And TTQ are going to start it up. Sox Clinton waiting in the wings, wants to throw out the death sentence to see if he can tag somebody up. Paul taking the long way around the Baron. Wants to add this flanking possibility here for the side of TTQ. They need to make a call, and they have. They're going to commit to knock down the mid laner. That's a big part of DA's damage down. And now Paul's got to walk around this. They've stalled the Baron a little bit. But is there any other avenue for them to get back into this? Paul's going to hit the Scryer's Bloom. They see that the Baron's about 12. Slowly ticking down. Still 4 available for GA. They have Robs. They have Dread Joker, who can't get over the pit. To potentially steal this away. He's waiting in the Tri-Burst. They don't have vision on it yet. 3K. Jenna Krister arrow locks one down. Some of the damage stop. Paul over the back! And his Dread Joker steals it away, but can they walk out? He gets the Baron, but they trade lives to do so. Rob's gonna try and walk this one out. Glacier as well. The big purple worm goes over to GA, but it may have potentially cost them quite a bit. This will be expensive. They should be able to hold on to a fair chunk of their base. The respawn timer is still fairly low, about 30 seconds for both Paul and Dread Joker, but 3 up for the side of GA means they'll be able to hold on to at least their inhibitor turrets. It is a 5 alive right now for TTQ, and a smite fight that was excellently timed for Dread Joker right as Paul went in to make sure that that damage was well and truly being cut from TTQ. They couldn't focus on that objective. But now, TTQ, that may have only angered them. Flash forward from Sox to help secure the kill onto Robs. But the support does not the defense make. As managing to land the shockwave onto Root, but they won't collect the gen right now. Sox and Taylor Swift is just trying to be annoying right now. But GA, they'll be happy to only have lost that much of their bases. Paul, yeah, Sox, I think, may have not helped his team right there, grabbing somebody with that death sentence. Is Curtain Call going to come out? Deadly Flourish locks Glacier for just a moment. Paul on the wrong side of this engagement, forced to flash out of the Cataclysm. With the health bars really low, they're going to have to take the long way around to recall back to the base, and now TTQ can restart the siege. And on this extended play, they'll be able to grab this inhibitor turret, I think. Depends on how greedy they want to get and how long they want to stay as Robs throws out the ultimate. So passively burning the health bars down and at least persuading TTQ for now to go ahead and walk away. And so GA hold on to their base for now. And luckily for them as well, no other big objective spawning, so Herald won't be for roughly another 3 minutes. And so GA doing a really good job to buy themselves a lease on life right now. Now, unfortunately, they're going to be at a permanent disadvantage because of this Dragon Soul that TTQ has. That Mountain Soul doing a really good job to keep them healthy. And so it delays being able to get those execution timers on those TTQ members, even when they're able to find favorable team fights. But the good news is they've stemmed the bleeding. Well, I say stem the bleeding. As much as you can stop TTQ from continuing to add a little bit to their gold lead, as it is a little bit more than 6.5, almost getting close to 7,000 gold lead. But TTQ, at least for the last minute or so, they've been slowed down a little bit. And GA doing a better job in cleaning up some of the shot calling. And the longer this game goes, the better it'll be in terms of trying to get to parity. Now, I say that, unfortunately, for GA, that Ashe is never going to be as valuable as the Jhin. That Jhin is just one of the best late-game scaling ADCs in the entirety of the game. And the Ashe will never truly be able to match that in terms of raw damage. But the utility that they get out of it will be useful. And speaking of useful utility, GA going to be wishing they had a little bit more of it right now as dual teleport's going to be channeled from both sides. 2 quick kills going over to TTQ as both the jungler and the mid laner are down. And meanwhile, the top side, their top lane player is going to get locked down into double ultimates, the Unstoppable, the Cataclysm, the Wombo combo, making sure to shut those guys down. The curtain call comes out to gem damage up. The other 2 remaining members, as fully anointed, going to lock down Rob's Glacier, forced to flash out. The only one alive from the GA squad, and now TTQ can start to put the final touches on this game. They're going to play through bot lane and usher this wave in. 20 seconds left on the Orianna. 15 or so in just a second left on Dread Joker, but I don't know that they'll be able to respond fast enough to stop more of their base from going down. This is a bare minimum going to be an inhib. How greedy do TTQ want to get? They know that the respawn timers are going to start to get short here in just a second. They're pushing forward. They have a healthy minion wave, but the remaining members of GA are about to respond. Glacier just needs to stay alive for right now. Dread Joker has joined the fight. Cordy is here as well, but the minion waves are starting to stack. Quentin gets low, so that's already one down for the side of TTQ, so there will be no further base damaging for the squad in purple. They're going to try and walk out. Now GA, they may fancy themselves a refight on this one. Ultimate's still down for the side of TTQ. So it's Ricky will at bare minimum be the sacrificial lamb for this one. Fully anointed, trying to get towards the backside, but may have potentially donated himself over where he didn't need to. Taylor Swift is trying to put damage to buy some space, but it's not enough right now. GA, they're staying scrappy, chasing out the remaining members of TTQ. Deadly Flourish to buy some space to root somebody up, at least for a moment. Double kill goes over to Root, and it's going to be a triple. Could it be the quadra? Give him the penta. Oh, QWERTY. Oh, no. Root wants to run him down. The ball going to buy a little bit of space. Taylor Swifties. Oh, can you help your ADC secure the kill? Root going to be a little bit faster. Throws down the Q. QWERTY doesn't have the damage to stop Root from getting it. Pops the barrier. Pentakill for Root 16. That's going to be the damage they needed to win the fight. That's going to be the damage they needed to kill the base. As the final shots are going to go into the Nexus, the final 2 members of TTQ standing, Root and Taylor, best buddies. They're going to secure game 1 for the side of TTQ. They're going to wait for the teleport to channel, and they take a lead in this series. Across the map as we are getting straight into the draft. And I'm interested to see what adaptations GA will make now that they're on the blue side. That opens up some opportunities, but also it opens up some inherent risk. TTQ, they will have counterpick no matter what, and so it's just going to depend on what lane they want to give counterpick. And the bans still remaining largely the same. GA still electing to ban the Smolder. I think it's a little bit of a draft miss there because I think that they can probably leave the Smolder up and force TTQ to ban it. And then they can pick it for themselves. I mean, Smolder's not a tremendously difficult champion to play. And also, he just has so many good matchups, not only in opposing lanes, but then also just good duos with supports that I think it's worth having that champion in your pool. And so if you're an ADC and you don't play Smolder, get your life together and learn how to play that champion because it is incredibly powerful, even despite the nerfs. Syndra, Jace, and Garen going to be the same bans for TTQ. And Bard, Smolder, Pike still being taken away by GA. GA, they want to get themselves some early game trading power, so they will elect to grab themselves the Lucian. Now, it is going to be a split pick for their support pick right now, so they may not necessarily be able to pick the Nami along with that. And if TTQ were so enterprising, they might choose to take that away. The GA could elect to go something like the Karma or switch over to a Lulu to enable Lucian a little bit. Obviously, those 2 picks aren't the best thing with it. That Lucian-Nami combo has just been a staple in the bot lane for so many years across so many leagues that it really only makes sense to pick those 2 together. TTQ right now, they're going to lock themselves the Sivir. And the supports still available that are really strong. The Karma's still available, which would, I think, pair well with the Sivir, especially with double shields. They could grab themselves the Lulu. The Nami would also be available. They could try and play something a little unconventional. If they wanted to go the support route, you know, shout out to Melon, who is our unconventional support player within the league. But TTQ will instead opt to go ahead and lock in the Vi, so signaling that they want to potentially counter any kind of tank or bruiser champions that GA may want to draft, specifically there in the jungle. Denting Blows is great at trading those champions. And especially if what's still available. Ornn, Gnar, let's see, what else is good? I mean, Sion still available as well. Those champions are really, really good. for Vi to be shredding. So it will hopefully dissuade that a little bit. But GA, again, opting for a little bit more aggression, although not of the early game variety, have elected to grab themselves the Belveth as a very, very risky champion to grab. Glacier Ascent, do they grab themselves the support here? And they will like to go the Milo. Ooh, I don't know about that one. I don't necessarily think that's the best champion to be sticking alongside the Lucian, but GA, they perhaps see the game a little bit differently, so they're going to grab the kickball champion on the bot side. So TTQ, now that they don't have to worry about the Nami, they can elect to go kind of anything they want. They can grab themselves a Nautilus, a Leona would still be available. They could go the Enchanter route. They could try and grab themselves something like a Morgana. Or a Lulu, but they will, for some reason, be saving their support pick for later. I think it would be better to lock in support now and save that mid-top lane pick for later, but they are instead going to lock in the Galio. Now, it is important to note that this Galio is not guaranteed to go towards the mid lane. They have a little bit of a flex that they can put with it because the Galio is a decent response to the Melio. It's not in any danger. It's also not under too much threat from the Lucian either, especially towards the late game when he's a little bit more tanky. But you do lose out on some of the utility that you get from champions that are more geared towards that support role. But TTQ, bare minimum, they have the ability to flex that champion both to the mid and support role, and so it might dissuade a more aggressive mid lane AP threat that GA might want to draft for themselves. Is TTQ opting to try and pinch that top lane pull a little bit more. Is Lulu going to be the takeaway from GA? So GA's read is that this Galio is not going the support role. Or, alternatively, their read might be that it is going the support role, but they'd like to force it to go towards the mid lane, and so they want to ban other support champions to force TTQ to change their drafting direction. TTQ also going to take away the Renekton. And the Blitzcrank going to be the quick ban away from GA. So top laners are still available. Gnar, Ornn, Urgot, Malphite, or sorry, not Malphite, Mordekaiser, all champions that have been really, really strong. There's some more unconventional champions that we could see. We've seen a Kayle, we've seen some Vayne, we see some Kled. All champions that are also available for pickup there for the side of both TTQ and GA. And they will lock themselves in the Nautilus that we were highlighting earlier. So very, very good engage, very beefy front line for the side of TTQ, but they need a little bit more damage. So I think that more or less confirms where they'll want to go to the top side pick, but they need the top line pick to have quite a bit of damage. They also need some magic damage, so Gwen could be on the board here for TTQ. It wouldn't be unreasonable, but the Mordekaiser would also be another great pickup, and I think would work excellently given what TTQ have already drafted. But GA opting to go a little bit of a different direction. They've decided that they want to stay mobile. And they want to have flexibility to move across the map to make plays. So Ahri will be their pickup there, but they need a top laner here. If they want to draft themselves some safety, Gnar would be the best pickup here to dissuade any other aggressive picks from TTQ. But again, Ornn also available. Cassante available. It is going to be the Xin Zhao pickup here. Now, this could be a Belveth top lane. It could be Xin Zhao top lane. We'll have to see where either of these guys want to play it. I think it'll largely depend on what TTQ walks in here on the top side. But I think TTQ now have, their pick of the litter, and what they want to do is this going to be a Galio top lane, or might this be Vlad top lane? I think this would signal Vlad top, which would be very interesting to either the Xin Zhao or the Belveth. And I think if it's Vlad versus Belveth, I think TTQ going to have a pretty good time with that Vladimir. We'll have to see if I'm wrong. We'll have to see if GA well and truly do have a strategy for how they want to play this out, as it's game number 2. GA TTQ 1 win away from securing their second series win of the season. And GA, a lot of work to do if they want to get back in this series. And Paul and Ricky already wasting no time at fighting towards that top side. And so the Xin Zhao, at least in the beginning, will have a little bit of advantage in that early trading. Then as that goes on, as that champion starts to get levels and items, Paul's going to have a little bit more of a difficult time with the Xin Zhao and trying to keep them in check. And also, this is something we don't see a lot, hardly ever, in the top lane. I can't say that I've seen a Xin Zhao top lane, I think, ever. And so, obviously, and especially not into a Vladimir, so I have no idea how that matchup is going to go. But at least right now, for TTQ, he is not enjoying the backside of that matchup right now. As Sox going to stun up Glacier as Route 16 now has to be careful. Both barriers are going to get popped, but the trading right now at least good for Glacier. It's going to be a 1-for-1 right now. Sox helps cleans it up in the end. GA grab first blood with Illusion. A bunch of summoners used all across the board. The only one who has anything left is Robs with the flash, but GA happy to get that first blood. And so a sign of good things to come, and at least a sign of recovery there for the GA bot lane, who absolutely got ran in the last game. Now, GA, it's all going to be about making the most of that first blood and making the most of that tempo. And unfortunately, in that trade, Glacier and Robs were just able to get a little bit more aggressive damage down into Root. And so she wasn't given the opportunity to recover. And I think after the barrier gets popped, then I think you'd probably just commit that flash and just be happy that you got everything off Glacier as well, and you just kind of walk away with your trade. And so I think Root got just a little bit greedy there, but understandable, especially with how that last game went. But the things that I always tell players, especially when they come off a game like that one, is you have to play the game state for how it is and not how it was before. And you can't play the game that you will be playing in 10, 15 minutes. You have to account for the game that you're playing right now. And GA doing a good job of playing for the game that they have right now and utilizing their early game pressure. Is Paul flashing underneath the turret to get it. It's Ricky. So paying, at least getting a little bit of payback for how that first game went. Nice little 1v1 there for the Xin Zhao. And I think everything Paul can do to keep its Ricky down in that lane is going to be very, very helpful towards the late game. Especially because GA have a much more early game centric composition. As Cordy now going to get knocked out. Flash away from the Galio. Paul wants to flash forward to secure this kill, but Dread Joker is waiting. And so we'll need to be careful. Does need to walk on us with Dread Joker doing a really good job to put damage down, but they will convince both the TTQ mid laner and the jungle to walk on out and not pursue any further. Cordy lucky to walk away with her life there. Oh, Sox was trying to time the minion death to grab that that dredge line, but wasn't able to get the timing just right. That minion died just a little too late, so wasn't able to get the play on the Glacier. And that would have been a nice little combo there, too, if he could have landed it. They might have even been a kill onto the Lucian. But respect for TTQ, even despite the fact that they lost that first blood in that bot lane already, they're starting to get pressure back going their way. And I think for TTQ, I think if you can just keep Glacier down a little bit and make sure that this Lucian doesn't have a super aggressive early game, as my god, it's Ricky, is just not being able to go anywhere in this top lane. This Xin Zhao was having a really good time. This might even potentially be another solo kill if it's Ricky isn't careful. And he just got back to lane. He's going to be forced to walk on out yet again.
Let's run.
Sox a cheeky little roam towards the mid lane, trying to see if he could fish for something there. Unfortunately, that leaves Root all on her lonesome, and she'll have to kind of just sit back and take some of the abuse from the Emilio and the Lucian, which is not what you want to be doing as the ADC. That always feels unfun. But it is the price to pay for having a roaming support. Now, Sox, I think, was a scene on vision, but does still grab the dredge line anyways, as Glacier is quick to dash on out of there, get himself to safety. Sox, though, continuing to be aggressive in this bot side. And I love to see it. I love to see standout performances from supports like this. Not being afraid to make plays. As Glacier forced to dash again, not to get hit by that dredge line. Those cooldowns are roughly the same right now, but it will become a little bit more difficult as the late game goes on. With a nice little trade there, Glacier decided to target the minion for some reason, despite the fact that he should have known that Root was always going to target him. And so all of those pots are going to get popped right now. Also, just want to highlight real quick, good job by Fully Noted going up there and helping its Ricky to push out that wave and to give him some time to farm. As he's already more than 20 down in that top side. Doesn't have teleports. He's going to have to continue to reset and run towards that top lane. And Paul will continue to enjoy that early game advantage for at least the next 3 or 4 minutes, assuming that junglers don't get too heavily involved up there. And it's hard for Ricky right now because he just doesn't have a bunch of the itemized inbuilt sustain that Vladimir's are used to having once they get towards the late game. And also, Paul has a decent range engage with his E and his Q. But I think Ricky could do a little bit of a better job in trying to time that Zinjao knockup with going into his hemostasis, just to make sure that that full combo isn't available for the Zinjao. It's just obnoxious how far that engage gets in, and how far he can follow up with it too. Zinjao is sometimes a tricky champion to deal with, and wondering now a little bit why we don't necessarily see this champion to the top side a little bit more, and perhaps there's a reason for that, but right now it's looking pretty darn good. Oh, nice connect on a Glacier. The bot side forced to flash over the wall. So getting that from the Lucian will be a big deal, and now this means that they can't start off the Dragon, especially with the health bars the way they are. It's too available for here, but yeah, Dreadjoker needs to be... I was going to say Dreadjoker needs to be careful, but it's fully anointed that needs to be careful because now there's a lot of damage with no response out from any of the members here from the side of TTQ. Ultimate goes down. Galio's going to jump in, and they're going to collect the 1 kill, so the jungler is down. It's Galio hoping to collect that one, but the health bar still really, really low for the side of TTQ. Flashing forward manages to get another one. Double kill goes over to Glacier, and Root just wants to try and walk out. Again, QWERTY, they can trade onto this Sivir if they want to. No on the hunt available. Level 6 does Root not have. And so they will walk on out. And so it ends up being a 2-for-2 trade there in the end. And TTQ, we're just trying to make sure that that Dragon play stopped because GA were in a good spot to take it. We'll see if either one of these teams wants to try and run out there and make another play on top of that Dragon. Would be a little bit early, I think, to try and do so. Especially with QWERTY having no mana. So if anybody makes a play for it, it's, I think, going to be TTQ. There's no reason for GA to try and run and grab it. Because they have neither the positioning nor the resources to do so. Fully Anointed is going to get spotted out on a ward here. Does have access to the ultimate now. Sock's still level 5. On the hunt available for Root, so they have the ability to teamfight this. Pink's coming down. But Dreadjoker is going to be a little bit late to this play, as will QWERTY. Teleport going to be channeled right now. Zinjao going to involve with this fight. He's going to be the difference maker here. But already Robs is down. Ultimate going to come out from Glacier. They've pushed TTQ off this Dragon, and there will be no further follow-up. So one dead. The jungler dead for TTQ means that they can't go and fight for this Dragon right now. They could look for another team fight at the end of this. They want to try and catch somebody out. But 4 strong here from GA should just mean that TTQ walk on out of here and decide not to look for anything else. So GA, good job. They're going to claim that Dragon, and Dreadjoker going to be very happy to get be the recipient of that, starting to get the passive stacking. Already 22 to his name. And they're even going to go ahead and look to grab this Rift Herald, as they have the Melio roamed over, and with the Vladimir resetting, this should just be a free objective. There should be no reason that TTQ tries to run over there and do anything about it. And so I think for TTQ, they're going to make the conscious decision to just try and outlast or kind of sustain through this early game and just make the call to not try and be too aggressive and just scale. Because the scaling is on their side. They have a Sivir. They have a Vladimir. You know, Galio scales pretty decently into the late game, but they have better win conditions than GA does in the late game because their late game carry really is Dreadjoker. Dreadjoker even doing a good job forcing Fully Anointed out of his own jungle right now. Decides he wants to go back in. Has the Galio for a little bit of help. And it's Ricky possibly going to get involved as well. But remember, Dreadjoker does quite a bit of damage to this state of the game, even as early as it is. QWERTY, though, using the ultimate to lock down the jungler. That's 2 dead already. The Galio of the Ahri being just trading back for one another. As it's Ricky now trying to get the hell out of here as well. Pops the Ghost to get away. That Charm's going to miss. And so the red buff, which was the original objective for GA, does get collected. And so TTQ, as soon as I say that they're trying to be smart, they trade one over. Or sorry, trade 2 over. And TTQ certainly getting taken advantage of in this early game. GA running all across the map. Kind of doing a TTQ to them what they did to GA in the last game. QWERTY should be fine here. Rops provides plenty of additional safety. Let's see where TTQ want to make a move. They were 3-stacking that bot side, but the bot laners for GA are not there, so they will instead just look to push this out. They could potentially look for a dive, but I think that would be risky without having the Galio there to assist them with that. And since Galio does not have the Grand Entrance available, he'll have to wait. Glacier does spot out fully anointed. They're going to take this fight underneath the tower, but they got to juggle this turret aggro very carefully. Glacier doing a really good job to get away. Sox Quinton's health bar, as well as fully anointed, just getting completely deleted. They have successfully stopped that gank. And meanwhile, Taylor Swift is going to be forced to walk onto this one. Flashes over the wall, but may not have anywhere to go. The rest of TTQ is fairly far, and both QWERTY and Dread have plenty of damage. If he can survive just a little bit longer, does get charmed up and does go down. Sox manages to land the Dredge line, but it may be the Dredge line to death. It's just a double kill for Dread Joker. I thought it might have been a triple, but QWERTY takes it away. No, it does end up being a triple for the side of Dread Joker. QWERTY only took the 1 kill. And 4 dead for the side of TTQ most certainly feels really bad. It's about to be 5 dead, as Paul's going to collect this one. Ooh, threw out the ultimate. That doesn't feel good. Thought maybe he would have the distance to try and get that extra damage, but in fact did not. And so we'll be forced to walk on out of there. I want to see for a moment. I want to check something. I was trying to check the stacks. Come back, camera. I was trying to check the stacks. I wanted to see what that passive stacks was. Yeah, so it's just passively stacking that attack speed, which is horrific given the fact that she is already 6-1 and 2. And Has a Dragon had the early grubbies. And so GA, respect was due. They are in a really good spot in this game. They have done fairly well to get themselves in contention in the second game and potentially force it to a third. It's looking really good right now, especially with the way that first game went. It's Ricky. It doesn't yet know that he is walking into the biggest, fattest trap, and we'll see that his retreat potentially is cut off. Even though, as I say that, though, TTQ were here. They do manage to grab the Vlad. What else can they get? This Belveth is going to go down. Paul has entered the fight. Throws down the ultimate as well. Or, sorry, would throw down if he had it. Is QWERTY going to go on a killing spree? And it's a 1 for 2 so far. Probably going to be a 1 for 3. Taylor Swift is just trying to get the hell away. Paul going to collect that one. Nautilus dies underneath the turret. A double kill for QWERTY. Wasn't having such a good game in the last one, but is having a hell of a time now. 4-0 and 8 on the Ari. Flawless thus far. He's been in 12 of the 16 kills, so there's only been 4 that he hasn't been in. I don't know, TTQ fans. I think this is starting to look a little bit rough in this one. We might be going to 3 games, I'm thinking. GA, they are firing on all cylinders now. It seemed to have very clearly shaken off the effects, if any, from game number 1. But TTQ, they are familiar with this neck of the woods. They have been here before, and they're going to try and do something about this one. Glacier going to pop the barrier just to keep himself a little bit healthy. Paul running down. Teleport going to be channeled here from the Vladimir, but this may have been a little bit too late, and now he's going to be cut off in the middle of 4 people. Paul getting forward to keep 3 people engaged. Dread Joker trying to get involved as well. With the rest of TTQ getting close towards the tower, they're going to need to commit even more. Paul's going to get rooted underneath the tower, doesn't drop to the turret, and with by the hair of his chinny chin manages to live. As Dread Joker was picking up the dragon on the backside of that play before and got involved. So now GA, they're going to continue to snowball this lead. It is a almost 10,000 gold lead at 14. They have a much bigger lead than TTQ had in the entirety of that first game. 18-5 and kills a Belveth that is 8-2-4. And Dread Joker looking like he wants to be throw his own name for the player of the series, and if they can force this to a game number 3, he's doing a fantastic job. But QWERTY also trying to get his hat in the ring as well, doing a really good job. 4-0-9 on the Ari, and Dread Joker. Oh, come on, Glacier. That was some BM. Dread Joker earned that kill. That's a bad guy ADC stuff if ever I've seen it. But at 15 minutes with all 3 of the outer turrets down for TTQ, GA, they're in a really, really nice spot right now. They've just got complete control over this side of the jungle. They've got complete control over the Rift. Taylor Swifties. He's supposed to be a stone gargoyle. Well, he's looking like a stone brick right now with the way he's getting busted up and turned into concrete and make a building out of him. Or even throw him down on the ground, turn him into some paver stones the way the GA is walking all over TTQ right now. And this, I think, is what we wanted to see. I don't think anybody wanted to see a clean 2-0 series where just, one team runs away with it. No. We wanted a nice, fat 3-0 series where everyone has to work for it. And Paul going to be working for his right to live right now. Going to throw down the ultimate to buy a little bit of space. It's Ricky wants to throw down the Hemo Plague as well just to see what he can do. It's a 2v4, and I'm favoring the 2 right now was Root, trying to see if she can get anything done. Qwerty will try and split away, so Paul will get donated. Qwerty has one last charge of the ultimate, so we'll get away. It's a 1-for-1 in the end. But TTQ, honestly, not the greatest response from them. The fact that that was still a 1-for-1 in the middle of 4 people, not so great. GA, they are wasting no time. They're going to throw down the Terrell. They're going to get some mid lane plates. They're going to get a top lane turret. They can even rotate that over to the bot lane, in fact, if they want to. That's exactly what they're going to go do. Pick up some plates there and potentially collect the turret. And Dread Joker is enjoying every minute of this game. His solo turret gold going to go into his pocket. Things are starting to go, as we said in the last game, from bad to worse for TTQ. And I would hate to see Root lose this series. Obviously Root a big server favorite within the TLS, but Root was very vocal about not wanting to lose this series to GA. Couldn't believe that anybody picked GA to win this series over TTQ, and I was ready to believe her in that game number 1, but this game number 2 is showing GA have plenty of fight left in them. And so for GA, it's going to be about closing this out cleanly. Next Dragon going to be spawning at about 1 minute and 50 seconds. They have almost a 12,000 gold lead, which is bonkers. By the way, that is absolute insanity that at less than 20 minutes they have a bigger gold lead than TTQ had at any point in that first game. And that first game was scrappy, but it was a stomp, I think, for TTQ. And now we'll have to see how GA wants to close this out. And they might start trying to do it by avoiding these 1v2s and these solo lanes. And credit where credit is due. TTQ, they've been doing a really good job at isolating these opportunities. Paul, though, is going to flash on out of there. And with the movement provided by the runes, will get himself to safety. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, GA continues to sabotage the towers, and they should not try and grab this inhib before 20 minutes. That is the golden rule of League of Legends. Do not grab an inhibitor before 20 minutes. It is just free gold that you're channeling over to your enemy, and that is not what you want to be juking. Juking is what Glacier was doing around all the members of TTQ, and I guess they're just going to go ahead and elect to put the damage into the turrets here. They've got a fairly healthy minimum. There is no way they are about to try and end this game prior to 20 minutes, is there? Wait a minute, GA. This surge of confidence, they're going to chill on the teleport, trying to put the damage into the turrets. They will at least get one. They're fairly strong right now. They're going to collect yet another kill as the Vi goes down. Paul absolutely on a rampage. Dread Joker unstoppable, and before 20 minutes are up, GA say, we spot your game number 1 and we'll raise you a game number 2. Whatever you can do, we can do too, and we can even do it better. They're putting the damage into the Nexus. It's gonna be a pre-20 minute win for GA. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to Silver Scrapes. We've got a series on our hand. A little bit more convincing on something that they drafted, but that was not the case. Glacier took them to the Queeners, took their lunch money, took them for everything they're worth, even ran away with the sneakers, and now TTQ, they're going to have to find a way to respond back. And Glacier they do not want to go winless in the season, and this is as good an opportunity as any to grab a win. We'll see how they want to do it. The band's going to be the exact same as they have been in the previous 2 games, but a bunch more champions have taken off the board. And in a Game 3 situation, teams have to start to get a little bit more creative with what's available as GA decide that they are going to go ahead and grab themselves a Jinx. What will TTQ decide that they want to respond with? It is going to be the Ezreal for now. And trying to get Root on a carry champion and not wanting to leave that for too much later in the draft. Good news is they will have counterpick for that final selection. But they're going to have to go through the rest of the draft and navigate that correctly. And we'll see what they want to pair with this. If they want to instead follow the trend that they have been and lock in a jungler first, or if they would like to lock in their ADC and their support here. Ezreal is one of the most versatile champions. So it is one of those things where you actually can just kind of leave it later on the draft if you want to, in terms of the support that you want to draft with it. But TTQ may have a specific something that they want to put with it, and they may not want to leave it that much later. And So we'll see what they prioritize. They've also been putting a lot of emphasis on the jungle in terms of making sure that they can get something there. Fully Anointed has been a big part of their game plan. But right now, they're going to look towards more the upper half and grab that Ornn, get themselves some late game scaling, but that does put themselves potentially at the mercy of what Glacier Ascent wants to pick, and there are a number of champions that could punish that Ornn. The little creature on the top side, that Gnar, the first one that comes to mind. But Ornn also doesn't have that many losing matchups, and so anything that's a tank or a bruiser he can generally deal with, especially towards the late game. When you pick that Ornn, you were not playing for that late game, you were playing for that level 13 onward. Is Jinx Lulu going to be the pickup there? As the full combo on that bot side for Glacier Ascent. They want to give themselves some more combo power. And that seemed to be a key for them in the second game, and how they were able to kind of limit what TTQ want to do by making sure that they put Root and company on the back foot, making sure that they were playing through that lane. Is K'Sante going to be the answer to TTQ's Ornn? Now that TTQ have a good understanding of what Glacier Ascent wants to, at least how they want to approach the game draft-wise, as they're already starting to load up quite a bit on some of this pickoff power. And perhaps look to match some of it of their own. I'd like to see them lock in a support here. But they will instead wait to lock in that support and that mid laner for the final round. Instead, grab themselves a Dr. Mundo. I think a great blind pick if you're not entirely sure what Glacier Ascent wants to grab for the jungle. It's definitely a reasonable pickup. It's also one of the most difficult champions to deal with in that role. Dr. Mundo offers just so much ganking utility. Yes, doesn't have any direct CC, but just the cleaver slowdown plus the damage that he brings is obnoxious. And then his ability to sustain in team fights with the Mega Dose is really, really good. TTQ, they're going to ban away some reliable EP threats from the side of GA. They're going to ban away the Gwen and the Aurora. They do not want to see that Gwen in the jungle, and they don't want to see the Aurora in the mid lane. And so it signals to me that maybe they might be potentially trying to draft something a little bit vulnerable to some of that mobility. So mid laners that are still available, Cassidy, Lissandra, Silas is still available, as is the Aurelion Soul. You could try and go something a little bit AD heavy if you wanted to go the Yasuo, the Yone, or the Zed. We've even seen a Nocturne mid lane that did fairly well. But TTQ have a number of ways that they can go with the draft, but I fully expect them to lock in a support here and save, obviously, that counter pick for mid lane. I would be beyond shocked if they picked a mid laner here, and in fact they do. And so now they have opened themselves up to a potential world of hurt in that mid lane, particularly against other scaling threats. And now GA can start to really kind of shuffle around what they want to do here in this mid lane. And TTQ have left the support pick for last. I'm not sure that the support pick, unless it's something like a crazy pocket pick for Sox Clinton, I'm not really sure that that was the move to lock in that Aurelion Soul this early, given what is still available for GA to pick. As the Karthus is going to be the pickup potentially either in the jungle or the mid lane there. It could flex. I fully expected to go towards the jungle. There's an Anivia here for Glacier Ascent to pick, and that would not be the worst answer to Aurelion Soul. The Syndra is also available, which is something that Aurelion Soul is not very well equipped to deal with. Cassidy would be another great pick if you wanted to pick something scaling that could really aggressively fight the A-Soul. But instead, Glacier Ascent, they decide that they want to get a little bit more AD threat. No! Last second switch to the Vygar. Love that pick and love it into the Aurelion Soul. Easily able to punish that champion for standing still. And also great gate setup and great AoE control. Plus just a press R button and delete champion off the face of the planet. As TTQ, they're hovering his Vel'Koz, and they have drafted themselves quite a bit of magic damage here across a couple of lanes. They do, however, have a massive amount of poke. Even though there's not a lot of objective things lying on the line for both these teams, there is bragging rights. There is position on the standings. There is, how you finish out the rest of your season on the line for both these teams, and they would both like to get a win. TTQ, they would like to prove that they are better than the rest with a win over GA. And at least for Root and Sox going in this time, they have quite a bit of poke. available to them between both those champions, between the Ezreal and the Vel'Koz. And so it will be difficult for Robs to kind of sustain through that and help Glacier sustain through that through the early game. Of course, the kicker with that is Sox, you know, he has to play Geometry Dash with how he wants to land his Qs, you know, to try and land that damage consistently onto both Robs and Glacier. But Root and Sox should just have the early push into this lane. And I think that was the key early on for TTQ in that first game, was just getting that bot lane off to a really good start. And they never really had that opportunity in the second game, especially because Glacier and Robs got off to such a good start on the Lucian. And it was a good follow-up there. And the kill gold only ever went to the Nautilus, which wasn't obviously where you wanted that gold to go, especially if you're trying to stay even with a Lucian in the early game. Sox and Root, they hit level 2 about the same time as Glacier and Robs did, which is really good for them. And Glacier already starting to get low. Glacier, a couple more autos would do it. The heal keeps him healthy. Robs wants to see if he can trade 1-for-1, but is trying to walk out. Now, first blood, yet again in the bot lane. Sox starting to put out the damage into that Lulu, and that 2v2 power that we were talking about for TTQ on display there. And wasting no time grabbing an advantage there. Returned to the favor that Glacier and Robs gave them in game number 2. And Root are going to have double the CS of Glacier, so that'll feel good, plus that early game gold. And most importantly, didn't have to blow Flash to do anything, so both Root and Sox Clinton are safe from the gank still. They don't have to worry about Dread Joker trying to come down there and be a nuisance. You know, throw a little slowy wall and try and hit people with some Skittles. You know, TTQ, they're not candy merchants. They don't want any of what this Kassadin, or sorry, not Kassadin, but this Karthus is selling. They've been warned not to get in the truck with strange people, and they've been warned not to take candy from strangers. But I think Dread Joker onto this Karthus will just have his head down, wants to get to that level 6, wants to just power farm through multiple clears of his camps and start trying to stack the damage, because the Karthus does take a long time to come online as a jungler. This is not a champion that you get an immediate gold injection from once he reaches level 6. It takes a minute. You know, and unless people are just drastically low, I wouldn't expect that first ult from the Karthus to do a whole lot. As QWERTY and company going to have to respond to what Fully Anointed and Taylor were doing. Does manage to walk out, doesn't have to burn any summoners, but it is just the tax that the Mundo, corporate Mundo, takes from everybody. He walks through and demands a little bit of your attention. Dread Joker wants to try and see if the Mundo wants some candy. He's just going to pepper him up with those nice, colorful little Skittles, but Mundo just going to walk on out of there. And dead even CS in that jungle for both of those guys. I think the other thing to pay attention to is this top lane matchup as well. I think Paul should be relatively safe from It's Ricky on this Ornn for about the first 7 or 8 minutes of the game, especially if there's no early kills going on. I think that Paul will just be happy to kind of, you know, farm up, build his items and just kind of help delay the Ornn from getting to level 13 as long as possible. But then I think once It's Ricky starts to build his first item, get that in his pocket, and then reach that level 13, I think that's where you're going to see the Ornn really become valuable. And the big thing for TTQ is don't go down early. You know, don't go over any advantages for GA, because they do have some champions that would love to get an early gold injection. Either the Vigar or the Jinx would love to have a bunch of early gold. Obviously, one of those conditions is a little bit eliminated right now. Is Root's going to get Polymorph to force out the flash from Robs. And so this TTQ bot lane being really aggressive on the train, and Glacier gets shielded up there by Robs, but it is a close affair. So they will have to walk on out of there, as it's more than a 14 CS lead in the bot side for TTQ. But this is the name of the game for them. Just keep these individual elements of GA under control. Don't allow them to get any early game pressure. Don't give over any crazy kills, any crazy gold. You know, make sure that this Jinx and this Vigar take a long time to come online. And the longer that they can stop QWERTY from being able to get those primordial stacks, the better, because this Vigar is a champion that wants to, after he reaches that first item break point, wants to trade fairly aggressively. His Root now needs to get on out of here. Not sure what the goal was of trying to stick around for some more of those skills. I'm guessing he thought that maybe TTQ was going to be a little bit faster on the rotation, given that there were literally 3 people in the river watching this happen, but also did misplay in stepping way too close to the Karthus. Once that wall went down, always blow the flash and the arcane shift to get away, because you don't know what's waiting on the other side of it. And so that was an unnecessary kill to give over to GA. And unfortunately, it stops that dragon play, because a big part of their damage went missing there, and they didn't have mana. And so that means no further follow-up onto the objective. The silver lining of that is at least that kill did not go over to Glacier, which is not the thing you want. It's not good that it went over to the Karthus either, but it would have been worse on the Jinx. And so TTQ not necessarily going to be happy with that that stage of play. But now Dread Joker may be finding himself on the wrong end of a little bit of a skirmish here, as it's Ricky and Fully Noted doing a pretty good job of keeping him in line. The Ornhorn not going to get summoned out as he was momentarily stunned. Ball goes unstoppable. Ricky tried to flash away, but nowhere to go. And now that's left Fully Noted all by himself, and Taylor Swifties can't really do a whole lot about this. Fully Noted is not, in fact, going to go where he pleases, and so will be donated over to the Vigar. And so a 2-for-1 in the end for GA, so they won't be necessarily unhappy about that. Dread Joker will not be the happiest camper about it, but, you know, if you got a strong mental as a jungler, like, look, we got 2 kills out of that. I got some assists. I'm okay with this. And Glacier right now not going to be okay with the affairs on his bot side, as Root and Sox have him fully CC'd up, and now even the Aurelion Sol is joining this, but gets immediately polymorphed, killed by the Jinx, and now it's going to go on a rampage. Root 1 auto would absolutely knock her down, so she's going to have to run the hell out of there. And Dread Joker also throwing down that ultimate to make sure that there was plenty of coverage to make that dive as unsexy as possible for TTQ. And that was, as the kids say, not cash money. Full stack, no cap. It was not goated with the sauce and didn't hit him with the Riz. And GA making the most out of that global ultimate that they have, which is nice. It gives them a little bit of coverage in these ganks, makes sure that it's expensive for TTQ. You got to pay the Karthus tax whenever you want to try and get any of that stuff done. And also, unfortunately for Taylor Swifty, is right there right as the Lulu showed up, and so it was a drive-by polymorph. He just looked at like, hey man, what are you doing here? Go on, get out of here. You silly little lizard. Go on, get out of here. Cosmic savior of the universe, my rear end. You can go sit in the fountain for a little while. And this is where you start to see the strengths of GA's composition start to come through. It's the amount of control that they have. It's the amount of zone control. It's the amount of damage that they can stack in at any one person. And their ability to isolate fights is really good. But TTQ, it is still early game yet, and this is a composition that wants to make it towards the late game. You got yourself an Aurelion Sol, you've got an Ezreal, you've got a Vel'Koz, you've got yourself an Ornn. So once you reach that 15 to 20 minute mark, you're going to start to feel better, especially once It's Ricky reaches level 20 on the Ornn. But that is a little bit farther away. And in the meantime, GA have themselves a little bit of a gold lead. And Taylor Swifties are here, as is It's Ricky. They're looking for a potential 5-on-5 fight now. Vel'Koz only going to come down. The jungler for the side of GA is already gone. Another kill is going to Joy, rather, as the Lulu is also locked up. Taylor Swifties chasing QWERTY on out of there. And so TTQ, with a response of their own, great teleport by It's Ricky's. We're going to get that replay. So we'll watch that one again. And so you can see here, Aurelion Sol already getting that early push, and it's a quick call over for TTQ to go ahead and start the damage onto the dragon. And that teleport call comes out really quickly to try and make up the distance, as It's Ricky was a little bit farther away than he wanted to be. Wanted to get a little bit more heavily involved. So comes down through there. Actually, sorry, teleport wasn't channeled. I don't know why I thought that. But throws out the Ornhorn, gets the quick knockup onto Robs and onto Dread Joker, who goes into that stasis but really isn't able to do a whole lot. And QWERTY on the backside isn't able to get there in time to have any meaningful follow-up. And yeah, it throws down the cage and prevents... that's not what we wanted. Prevents any further meaningful follow-up there, but just kind of has to watch the objective go down. So now TTQ, they've completely nullified that small gold lead that GA had. And they've, I wouldn't say put themselves in the driver's seat, but they've at least got one hand on the wheel right now, and they're kind of sharing custody of this driving situation with GA. And so Rob's yet again forced to flash out. Glacier isn't going to be able to win this 1v2 right now with Sox Clinton here to help Root. And so we'll have to back on out. Unfortunately, Rob's just getting the worst parts of these trades. TTQ doing a really good job to focus him down. Gets the kill with that Arcane Barrage. Glacier immediately slain, but the Karthus ulti makes sure that they get secure too in the back end. If you're less than half health, it means you're going to get donated over. And so Dread Joker starting to put his stamp on the game and make his presence known. Okay. Taylor, you did. That is the thing you did. You did that. And in about 3 minutes here, within the next 3 minutes, you're probably going to wish that you hadn't. Definitely a misclick there. I would be very surprised if that was a flex on him power move by the Aurelian Soul to just tell the Vigar that he didn't need that flash, because, well, I can, floaty myself on out of here with my movement ability, but that doesn't matter if you get clipped by an event horizon, which would, I like to say, turbo suck. Pretty just big annoying. Just making sure Taylor isn't free to get these stacks. There's 11 minutes in the game. He only has 64 of them. Let's say only 64. It's not bad. It's not great. It's kind of a byproduct of how aggressive Cordy's been in the lane, making sure that Taylor wasn't free to just grab those stacks. And in the stacking game, Cordy's winning 85 stacks of that Primordial Evil, as opposed to the Stardust that the Dragon is stacking. So, at least in the arms race of scaling, pseudo-infinite scaling abilities, which I pseudo, I don't know why I said pseudo, it is infinitely scaling, but in the grand scheme of infinitely scaling abilities, the Vigar is winning it right now, but what they're not winning, or rather what TTQ is not winning, is this fight in the bot side, is Rob's threw down the ultimate to make sure that Glacier stayed nice and healthy. And Cordy, for some reason, has found himself on the backside of multiple people. Wasn't able to lock down Root, who does flash away, but not from the Super Mega Death Rocket. That was a quick kill going over to GA in the scheme of things. It did look like It's Ricky was trying to turn on a teleport. It looks like that got canceled. But they may not need him at Taylor Swifties. He's going to throw out the gravity field to make sure that no one gets away. Fully anointed, grabs his first kill of the game, and it might even be his second, a double kill onto Glacier and GA. Just when it started to seem like they were getting a little bit more control in this game. And TTQ, they fire back nice and snappy, get 2 quick kills of their own in that bot side. They will trade it for something on the top side. Paul goes on a killing spree. He has had quite the performance over the last 2 games. In a best-of-3 series like this makes it difficult to know really to kind of who to give the player of the series to, because, I mean, for GA, it's been a massive team effort. I mean, I think Dread Joker was a big part of them winning in the last game, as was Paul for the side of GA. And for TTQ, fully anointed, Taylor Swifties, Root, they've all done a really good job. So is It's Ricky. And so they'll be interested to see where the chat decides they want to send the player of the series tonight. But before they can do that, one of these teams has got to win. And I think no matter who we end up voting for tonight on either of these teams, I think it'll be well-earned. Right now for both these teams, there's a number of things that they need to start to knock off the checklist before they can really start to become powerful. For GA, it's continuing to find ways to win in some of these side lanes, but I think TTQ have fully identified where they want to try and win through, and so they're just going to continue to stack this bot side. And they've completely made the call to sacrifice anything in that top lane. They don't care about the turret. They don't care about the minions. They care about their ability to win through bot and through mid and to get control of these neutral objectives. And they're going to continue to stack there, which is big for them. And GA not really in a spot right now to do anything about it. Ornhorn potentially going to find out Quarty as he's going to be hit in the bouncy castle. Taylor can look to start to chase this one out even further. This Vigar, not long for the world, is going to get killed. The Hextech Dragon going over to GA. Super Mega Death Rocket doesn't collect Sox Clinton, but you know what will? This Karthus ultimate. Just when you think you live through one, there's another one right across the way, ready to put you back in your place. And so GA, they'll collect 1 kill for a Dragon. And pressure on the top side. Those plates going to Paul, who's going to be having a really good time with all that gold sitting in his inventory. He has, I think, at least a whole nother item's worth of gold sitting there, so we'll be happy about that. And that's the side effect of the trade that TTQ made. They willingly opted into that, knowing that Paul was going to have a lot of alone time with those structures on the top side and get a lot of that solo standing gold plus the experience. Paul, level 12 over It's Ricky, so he's going to be feeling pretty good. And let's see if he can transfer that into something more meaningful. Herald is available for GA, and they will start it up. Fully anointed. They know that this is going to go down, so does he want to make his way towards that pit? Ping's coming down. It's Ricky not here yet, but multiple members of this TTQ squad are here. They can look to give this Herald and then potentially look for a fight in the end. Rob's already getting low. It's Ricky starting to cut off the avenues of escape. Herald gets smited away, but will it cost them more? Paul trying to get closer and closer towards those vulnerable members of the TTQ bot lane, but he just can't do it, so he'll have to settle for the Munto 1-for-1 as Root putting in the damage. Glacier trying to run for the hills. Ultimate comes out from the Velcrons to collect him. Sogs Quinton gets a second kill of the game. It's Ricky escorting Dread Joker and Rob's out. Did they manage to get the Herald? Yes, they did. Paul grabbed it before he died, so that objective secured. Do they fancy themselves a dive? They're going to stop the teleport out from Rob. Sobs Clinton wants to make sure that they can try and pick up some of these kills. Well, how hard do they want to commit? They may unfortunately have to let this go. It's Ricky's going to call out the Orn Horn. That's a little late for that one. Throws that out for basically nothing. So starting to look a little goofy here. So both of those people will get the chance to channel the teleport and get back to the lane. Not that much worse for wear. And a good little skirmish by TTQ to walk away with some kills. But GA, they'll be happy with that Rift Herald. And they needed to get it, honestly. You know, in order to pair that with the grubs that they had gotten earlier, because they're already down 2 dragons. You know, you can trade those 2 for some pressure somewhere else across the map and for some other standing goal, but you also need to make sure that you at least grab one of those neutral objectives. And so that Herald will start to help them open up the map a little bit more. Obviously, top lane turret is already down, but if they want to try and save that Herald for the next dragon, just spawning in 2 minutes, and it would be a good dragon for them to try and grab, especially to start stacking for a potential Infernal Soul. They can look to place that Herald down towards the mid lane, knock down that turret. And alternatively, if they want to be a little bit more aggressive and try and make a play towards mid, group 4 people, throw the Herald down, get some more turret plates, especially with the amount of crystalline growth that's sitting there. Would be a lot of gold just to inject straight into the team, and they can look to turn that towards a neutral objective, but they need to be careful. Because TTQ, they know what they want to do is, my God, Root just going to slay Glacier underneath the turret. Arcane Barrage is going to come out as well. Rob's forced to use the ultimate just to try and survive, and even that won't be enough. As Karthus ultimate to come down, don't think there's anybody collect there. No one within execution range, I think, was just trying to see if maybe they could fish for something, and so that ultimate will not be available for the next couple of minutes. And Route 16, more importantly, going to pick up this mid lane turret. Will they have time to rotate to cover this? And the bot side, GA want to respond. He has help, so it's Ricky's fine right now. They can look to potentially stop this Herald. It will get the charge off, but it won't collect the turret. And so TTQ, they'll still have that structure standing, especially for the next dragon fight, which would be big. The question for me right now for GA is timing. It's when do they want to try and make the most of this game state. They're in a decent position to fight. They've got some decent items coming out. It's a Hextech item already completed for Glacier. And QWERTY already has the Hextech Proto Belt. I don't know how I feel that Proto Belt. I'm going to be honest. I think that's the wrong build for the Vygar. I think it should have automatically been something towards scaling. Either just go ahead and finish that Scepter, or try and grab like a Rod of Ages. I think would have been the more correct build for QWERTY. I get that he's trying to dodge some of the immediate follow-up from TTQ as far as their CC is involved, but I really don't think that that item is worth it on Vygar. I think it would have been better to just go full scaling. You know, get yourself out towards the Seraph Embrace, grab the Rod of Ages, especially right now. Yes, he will collect the support, but it's not a whole lot. As this jungler for support, so a better trade, or at least it was, until Dread Joker managed to collect the mid laner for TTQ. Now this starts to look like a little bit of a different story, but the difference is TTQ have a jungler and GA do not. It doesn't look like either team want to make their way towards this objective. The health bar is not in a great spot for TTQ, especially for Root, who needs to avoid being clipped by Paul here. And with 4-star for GA, they're just going to walk this one on out. The teleport's going to get channeled here from the Ornn. Let's see what TTQ want to do. As QWERTY throws down the Event Horizon, buy him a little bit of space. Glacier already low. It's Ricky going to throw out the Horn. Karthus ulti to buy just some space and maybe prevent some further follow-up. It's Paul right now. Wants to try and get towards Root. Doesn't manage to get the knockup with the Intofo strikes. So will just back on out as it's Ricky. Ooh, not able to get on top of Ross. He's going to get polymorphed, and now he's out of position. The follow-up is available for GA, who throws its Ricky further back. Paul doing a really, really good job to buy space, putting in the damage. He's like a one-man army, just knocking people up, putting people on the bouncing castle. QWERTY is going to throw out the ultimate to slay the Ornn. And meanwhile, Dragon still not picked up. As Root got caught on a reedy recall, the Ezreal back in somewhere it shouldn't have been. Ping's coming down now. Dread Joker can walk on over to that Dragon if they want to. The Super Mega Death Rocket is going to clip the Vel'Koz, but by the chin of his chinny, the hair of his chinny chin does manage to live. GA and TTQ right now being really, really scrappy with this game, and I like it. It's less than 1,000 gold lead for GA. But TTQ, they want to get this dragon because they know that they're starting to struggle a little bit in some of these team fights. They haven't been quite as put together as they'd like to be. You know, I'm sure that they would like to have been a little bit more aggressive in their vision and get a better pick off. And the fact that it was a 1-for-1 trade in a gank area that they set up, I think, wasn't great for them, as it was a jungler for support trade, but then there was another trade on the backside that made it a 1-for-2. GA will pick up their first dragon of the game, so stop that dragon stack, and the TTQ was trying to get going. The big standout performer right now for me is Paul on this Cassandra. He's doing a fantastic job in frontlining and in keeping multiple members of TTQ engaged, buying space for Glacier and QWERTY to do what they need to do on the back end, just giving them plenty of time to shell out damage. And TTQ, that's what they should be doing. That's what they should be trying to do. Both with fully anointed and it's Ricky trying to establish their front line, absorb all that damage, give your Aurelion Sol, your Vel'Koz, and your Ezreal just infinite time to shell out damage. We're starting to get closer to the 25-minute mark. You're going to start to see other item completions coming through. Seraph's Embrace fully stacked, fully finished for QWERTY. As it is the Hextech item plus the Phantom Dancer. I always sometimes forget that item because I don't see it a whole lot. But the Phantom Dancer completed for Glacier, so it's a big 2-item power spike there for him. QWERTY now collects the turret, but is going to give his life to do it. He won't be getting too far out from there. So Taylor Swift is going to collect that solo kill, but it is at the cost of a turret. And so now GA, they have all of those outers cracked. The Sock's going, ooh, needs to be careful, stepping a little too close. But he's got his buddy Root there to help out, and she's going to be happy to collect the kill. Rob's trying to get underneath the turret. Now Dread Joker's here. Root, just walk towards your friends. That's all you got to do. And man, just to get over the wall, get away to safety. And they got to be conscious about the health bar. They can't take too aggressive trades because Dread Joker has the no you button. He could just channel that ulti anytime he would like to. And Root needs to be careful in some of these exchanges as well because he has a number of people hunting for him. Or sorry, Root has a number of people hunting for her. I get the champion mixed up with a person sometimes. It's my bad. But Paul wants to find Root, wants to lock down this Ezreal, wants to make it an easy setup for the Karthus to just press ult. Right now, TTQ being really aggressive in this mid lane, trying to put damage into this Cassandra. And I'm not sure if that's entirely the call. I'm not sure what they're being this aggressive for. There's no neutral objective for them to play for right now. Paul's going to start to get this team fight going for them. Could it be the Ornhorn coming out? Paul will get slain eventually, but that took a hot minute. But now that the front line for GA is down, they can start to put in the damage. QWERTY on the backside, manages to collect that Aurelion Sol, but now we'll have to walk himself on out of here as he's found himself without any friends, without a prayer or a hope of staying alive. And 4 strong for the side of TTQ. Their team fighting's being really good in the last couple minutes, and they've got themselves a 2,000 gold lead to make up for it. Sox eating some turret plates. Better be careful, my friend. That Ezreal, not necessarily waiting in the wings to save you right now. That Karthus would love to hit you with a pocket full of old people candy. It's not even a good candy. It's like, you know, a save and suck thing, or suck and save. You know, like a mint that an old person had and they just stuck it in their pocket for later. There's a Dread Joker going to use the Vambraces to live just a little bit there, and so we'll get the full usage out of that item before he tries to go finish his Zhonya's Hourglass. I am not a Zhonya's Hourglass enjoyer, and I don't know if any of our friends in the chat are any Zhonya's enjoyers. I most certainly am not. But what I am an enjoyer of is the way that this game is going right now. That is the second time that Glacier has gotten really close to killing Sox with a long-range Super Mega Death Rocket. But now with Dragon spawning at a minute 10, both these teams are going to look to run out and try and get their vision established. And for GA, they'd like to knock down this mid lane turret before that happens, just to give them a little bit of safety to move across the map. They won't be collecting that objective right now, fully anointed. We'll just expend his spell shield to walk through the event horizon wall. My question for GA is there a world where they decide to trade this Baron for a third dragon? You know, it's not Dragon Soul, but it would put TTQ on Dragon Point. They may not want to actually give that over with the Infernal Soul, just the sheer amount of poke that TTQ has. It would be difficult for GA to sustain through that, to be honest with you. Just between the Aurelion Soul and the Vel'Koz and the Ezreal. There's a lot of long-range damage being shelled their way. Right now, this decision may not be GA's to make because they're not in a position to fight for this dragon right now. Root, my god, a single Q does that much damage to Glacier's health. His teleport's coming out. Is this a potential flank angle? Gordy might be looking for something here. They have vision on this Baron, so they know that TTQ's not around it. TTQ immediately making the call to run over and go towards the dragon. GA, is this a moment where they want to try and flip for this Baron? They've got 3 people waiting over there. They do not do this Baron super fast, by the way. This will take them a minute to get it done. They're starting to put it in now. 13,000, making his way through. That's dragon going down. Let's see if TTQ want to run out and try and stop this. 10,000 still available. Pings coming through. Nobody on the map right now for GA. 7,000. This is a little bit farther for TTQ, so I think this Baron just going to go their way. Ultimate will be thrown out by the Aurelion Soul to confirm it. GA, no steal waiting for them, but now that TTQ have arrived, they may be trying to cut off the escape here. Cordy will get donated. Paul's been forced to stick around. Roms should have just completed the bag because there's no chance to get away, and the rest of TTQ want to try and chase this down. They will go to the ends of the earth to collect these kills, and they may even be able to do so. Blastcomb brings Paul to safety. TTQ, they fully chased down. Right now, it's a Baron for a 1 for TTQ. Oh, sorry, for GA. That does not inspire confidence. Root forced to flash, went a little bit aggressive with the Arcane Shift. And now TTQ, they need to make their choice. Do you want to try and dive this, or are you committing for it? As that's going to be the card that's solely channeled to knock down nobody, as everyone's going to walk away. Everyone's ticking. It's Ricky. Does he manage to live? Ooh, he walked into the turret. Oh, no, it's Ricky. Say it ain't so, buddy. Must have thought that there was a minion wave there. Must have been playing on locked camera, thinking that there was a minion wave there. It was very clear that there wasn't. Oh, no. So donates the kill over to Dread Joker. Oh, Taylor Swifties, they know that Dread Joker's here. Uh-oh, where you going? You gotta cut off the blast cone. Don't let him touch the blast cone. That's the minigame. And Dread Joker now probably realizing he's got nowhere to go as Taylor Swift is just gonna knock fully anointed back. It's like, hey, get away from my kill. And Dread, he's gonna be waiting for the blast cone. Goes to the GA just to make this a little bit annoying. Eventually, they're gonna collect them. As a fully anointed throws the cleaver into his back and sends the Man of Death into the Death Realm. Fully Anointed just walks past those choppers. He doesn't give a damn about any of the Jinx abilities. I'm not sure what GA's doing here right now. No jungler and not a lot of help. Now the Casante's going to teleport through. This is a little bit awkward right now for GA right now. I feel like they're getting baited, masterfully so, by TTQ. So now Paul's teleport's gone. They have nothing to show for this. There's nothing to fight for. GA getting strung across the map, and TTQ, in the wackiest and most clown car of ways, has subverted GA's Baron by just dragging them across the map. The recalls are going to get channeled now. Meanwhile, mid lane, the team without Baron is going to get the siege going. They're going to, at bare minimum, knock down this mid lane turret. They won't go ahead and knock down the inhibitor because they don't have enough time for that. But in the wackiest clown card way, GA have absolutely just nullified their own Baron by trying to ooga booga something in the bot side in a fight that was never going to happen. And now TTQ, they'll be perfectly happy with that. This Baron's going to expire. They didn't lose anything. Nobody died except for the Ornn that went into the turret for some reason. And with just 30 seconds left, there's really nothing that GA could do with this Baron. And in fact, TTQ had a better and came off better out of that Baron power play than GA did themselves. So a little bit awkward there for GA right now. So they're going to be, I think, wishing if they do, in fact, lose this series. Yeah, they'll be wishing that they had done something a little bit more proactive with that Baron, like, I don't know, switching it between 3 lanes, trying to shove those waves into turrets and get the outer 3 tier 2 turrets, but that didn't happen, so we'll always have to wonder. And now the Baron is fully expired, which means they will no longer be able to use that to threaten TTQ with. And we're getting close to a minute 30 left on this Infernal potential soul here for TTQ, which would be pretty bad for GA, honestly, because they do not have the kind of poke right now that GA has. And my God, Root is just landing these Qs over the wall over and over again. And I don't know, right now, I would say for TTQ, if I had to pick, if I had to supply somebody that's my player of the series, I got to say it's going to be between Root or Sox Clinton. These 2 players, they've been doing a phenomenal job. And no disrespect to Fully Anointed and to It's Ricky, but standout performances in that bot lane, that is what makes it. Fully Anointed now going to have a standout performance in trying to run down the Vigar, but Sox, bad guy support, steals the kill. How dare you, sir? That Mundo worked for that. Do you know how often Mundos get to run people down and kill them? I mean, it happens a lot. But that's not the point. The point, it was his kill. And Sox continuing to land this damage. Robs goes to the ultimate just to buy a little bit of space, but it just doesn't matter. Grand Starfall is going to knock the Lulu out, and Dread Joker now trying to at least dissuade TTQ, but yeah, that's not going to happen. He's going to throw the Hissy Fit ult, as I like to call it. Dare Swifties probably will drop here just off the passive burn. Nope, manages to live just a little bit with the remaining health. And now that's going to signal the recall from Paul. Taylor will have to back on out, but can look to teleport here towards this mid lane. The teleport going to be coming out from its Ricky. And TTQ, they may just decide to end the game here. They don't have a very healthy mid anyway. Paul wants to try and clear that out and stop the siege. QWERTY is here now. Throws out the ult to try and lock down Root, who doesn't die just yet. Lives with the barest sliver of health, so they may just have to settle to try and lock down the Ornn. And TTQ, you need to make the call. Are you backing off? Are you staying? Are you fighting? Are you going? What you doing, buddies? You got to make a call. As they were kind of him-hauling around there in that mid lane area, waiting to see if their buddy was going to live, but they do walk out. Well, I would say none the worse for wear. It was very much the worse for wear. And the Super Mega Death Rocket thrown out there to try and see if they could clip Root, which they weren't able to. And so this will be TTQ grabbing this Infernal Soul. It's so? Infernal Soul. And so the situation for GA goes bad to worse. And they're as scrappy as they've looked in this third game. It is definitely not the performance they had in the second game. And so now TTQ, they've got all the pieces together. And then Infernal Soul will help them with this Baron take. They can look to shove out these waves, establish their vision. And for GA, I think everything kind of comes down to this final fight. You've got an exposed mid inhibitor. Thankfully, no wards in the base that TTQ can teleport to, but it's still a rough situation. And so everything's going to come down to how they want to play this fight. And if the game plan doesn't start and stop with picking Root, I think that game plan is wrong. You have to try and eliminate this Ezreal, who is doing a tremendous amount of damage, full build. And Triforce, Malamau Mortius. The completely stacked Manamune, plus the Serpent's Fang. And this Ezreal is an absolute nightmare in these team fights. Now that the Baron has spawned, TTQ can look to turn towards this objective anytime they want. Early Polymore's going to come out fully anointed. Can't just look to walk out of this one. Rob's already low. The Lulu has been donated. That's the support capability for GA, already taken off the board. Paul trying to see if he can bring any of his other team members into this fight, but they're split across the map. Paul is trying to tank up 3 people, but has no help. The Jinx is collected on the opposite side. Root going to be the one to collect that one, and it's just a disjointed, dysfunctional fight for the side of GA. Nothing that they can do. Sox going to get killed, as will the Ezreal by Dread Joker, but that's just the poor, just unfun consolation prize for GA. Now the ping's coming down. 50-plus seconds on the respawn timer. Robs, who was the first to die there, won't be able to hold on to this base all on his lonesome. And so with super minions pouring into the base, plus the items be completed, they will at bare minimum be getting a Nexus Tower for this. 15 seconds on Glacier, 30 seconds basically on everybody else, 15 on QWERTY. And as soon as Robs respawn, he goes back to the fountain. That's going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. On unceremonious end to a hell of a series. But TTQ, they grabbed their second. that turret was up. They grabbed their second series win of the season, and they beat GA 2-1. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are with a member of the victorious TTQ squad. We're with Root. You are the player of the series. I think massively well-deserved, given the way the game 1 and game 2 went. Tell me, how does it feel to be the master of your own destiny and the victor of the universe?
It feels awesome. I wanna shit talk, but Glacier's kind of a nice guy, and I kind of feel bad.
Well, let's start with some of the stuff that you already talked about. So, I mean, a lot of people were, I think, rather comically kind of rooting against you guys, hoping that Glacier would kind of get their first win tonight. But in all seriousness, I mean, still a fair competitor. How does it feel to get to that 2-4 record? I know this season hasn't been exactly what y'all would have wanted, but I mean, how does it feel in retrospect now that you've collected y'all's second win?
It feels okay. I mean, I'm just following the script that Tyler gave me, so yeah, I kind of knew this was gonna happen at the start, but It's been nice to actually get some wins, like with TTQ.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. We just kind of found our groove. We were able to play our game, and it was pretty cool like that.
Walk me through, I guess, as we kind of focus on the series. So, game one, not much of an introduction that I think is needed there. You guys fairly stomped that fairly convincingly. Now, game two was very much the opposite of that game, and a draft that I think a number of people were kind of questioning, especially with the Vladimir on the top lane. Was that the way that y'all intended that draft to go, or was it a situation of like, we got caught with our pants around our ankles?
Um, uh, Well, I want to start off by saying that we picked the Sivir, and I don't blame our drafter for picking the Sivir, because I might have been looking at my phone and I didn't realize we were drafting, and then it was 3 seconds left, and he asked me what ADC I wanted, and I said, I don't know, and then he picked me Sivir. So that's how the Sivir pick landed. The rest of the draft, I don't know, I was kind of zoned out, I'm not going to lie.
That's fair.
And then the game, I have no idea what happened. I don't look at the mini map. I don't know if you know this, but so yeah, just kind of a disaster all around.
Well, in all fairness, I mean, you guys play pretty heavily through bot lane, so maybe you're just used to everyone coming to you and like, I don't need to look at the mini map because the action's always down here.
Yeah. We'll go with that. We'll go with that.
And then obviously game three, very different. I mean, walk me through what it's like to kind of have the support that you have from a team that definitely plays through bot lane. I mean, it definitely seems like you get quite a few resources, obviously being able to call the jungler over. Even in that third game, it was very clear that, hey, the play is to just sacrifice stuff at the top lane. We don't care about it. We're going to play through stacking drags and getting bot lane control. What's it like to kind of be in that environment where your team plays through you?
It feels pretty good, you know. I like having some confidence from my teammates that I can perform and I can carry. Just want to shout out Kyle, aka Socks, putting me on the map, basically like hand feeding me a lot of the time, which is very fun. We always love that, don't we, folks?
Oh, we love a good support. We a chat loves a good and chivalrous support. We like supports that don't steal kills from from the carries.
Exactly.
Yeah. Looking a little bit outward now, so obviously this was your last game of the regular season. Obviously, you guys are not in playoffs, given the way that the standings are going to pan out, especially with Psychosis.
Well, hey, you never know that fan vote, you know.
Well, that fan vote, yeah. If we could turn back time and institute the fan vote, I think you would be y'all would be shoo-ins for sure. But taking a larger step out, so you end your season 2 and 4. This was your last game of the regular season until we start this second season. And however long it's going to take us to put that together in terms of getting things rolling. A couple questions for that because I don't want to keep you too long. I guess firstly, looking at it the whole of your season, was there any series that kind of stood out to you, win or loss, that was either an important series to you or a series that you learned a lot about, either how to play or about your team, or just one that you enjoyed?
Definitely the most memorable series for me is still going to be that Psychosis series. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
The main thing I learned is that I don't know how truly powerful I am,
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I'm something else.
If there was any team that you could if you could go back and replay them again, and I think I know what you're going to answer, but if there's any team that you could go back and replay again and get either either win again or turn a loss into a win, which of those teams would you like? Oh, I'd really like a redo of that series.
I don't know. It's either gonna be Psychosis to prove it wasn't a fluke, or BBC.
Why the BBC series?
I want to put Waffles in the dirt.
Ooh, what's it put Waffles in the dirt? So I think it's safe to say you're not going to be a BBC enjoyer then, as we get closer to playoffs then.
Whoa! I didn't say that. I didn't.
Well, you
said
you would put Waffles in the dirt. What do you mean you didn't say that? That's the same thing.
Listen. I didn't say that. But the team, the team is like separate from that. I got beef with their jungler and their ADC. Their support, she has my heart. Okay.
This just in: Root has beef with a player in the TLS server. I don't know if you've. Well, I've got you here then, since I literally have you as a captive audience. Your prediction for the BBC versus BP series.
My prediction is that BBC lose game 1, Ryan posts a doc, and then the entire team of BP gets banned mid-match. That's my prediction.
That's a ballsy prediction. That would be categorically funny if that happened. That would be, what a way to win a series. Just, I'm going to post this whole doc of just players that aren't supposed to be here. Well, that would be funny if that was true, but maybe not so funny. I don't know. But that is a hell of a prediction. Are you playing Polymarket? Do you have a line open on this that we should know about?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any insider knowledge.
Oh.
I don't know. Like I said in the Psychosis interview, I do have a Sharingan and it sees 20 steps ahead. So just saying, you can put your money on me.
All right. Well, I won't bet against it then. Before I let you go, the floor is yours. If there's anyone that you want to shout out, anybody that you want to trash talk, any final parting moments that you want to give in your last regular season game of the season, your last game of the season, the floor is yours, Root.
Well, shout out to my team, TTQ, through thick and thin. Shout out Melon, obviously.
Shout out Melon.
And
shout out Melon
just
one time.
because I was tilted off that second game, huge shout out to Best Motivating Naruto Shippuden OST 2015-2016 Reupload V720p.
Shout out whatever that was. Shout out that OST on YouTube, I'm sure. All right, Root. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to give us the interview. Congratulations to you and your team. It was a pleasure to see you guys play. It was definitely fun to clown with you guys, and it's been enjoyable, seeing you through your wins and your losses. And we hope to see you guys this next season, especially after the rebalancing, and hopefully that you guys will be just as fun, entertaining, and as win heavy as you were this season.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to take it home. TTQ is going to be a whole different beast.
Awesome.
I think, probably.
Probably.
All
right. Go away.
Oh, okay. Bye!
Bye, Rude. Thank you.